give me the rub, I'll give you the tug.
But let's talk about something important. Let's get demonetized for hate speech.
I'm down.
Because I felt like this was coming.
Hey, what kind
Right.
of speech?
YouTube will not like my perspective on gun laws, as most of the left side doesn't. And actually, most of the right side doesn't quite like what I have to say either. Now, I've been partially on board with things like red flag laws and background checks, right? I think that background checks and red flag laws are good. They're like stop signs, right?
Yeah.
You can run them. They're not walls. You can run a stop sign, but they add something to slow it down, right? You have to consciously do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's impeding you at least in some form.
If you get a firearm illegally, you know that you got the firearm illegally. You know what I mean?
Oh, I do know what you mean.
So that's the reason why I support it, is that like it spreads the herd out a little bit. It puts a line in there, right? And not only that, but red flag laws seem to actually constitute the issue with gun ownership, which is if you're fucking crazy, that's the best way to put it, and people say, hey, by the way, you're fucking crazy, then you can't get a gun. Now, the problem I have with red flag laws is that if, I don't know, my wife was to be like, hey, I want a divorce and he's fucking crazy and I don't want him to ever buy a gun, she can just say that, and then I don't know how much investigation is going to go through. I don't know what that process is, but what worries me is that people are going to make shit up and then lose their Second Amendment rights.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
look at our culture right now. That's happening left and right.
right, if there's some sort of due process associated with red flag laws, totally fine with them, right? But here's the issue that I have with the effectiveness of red flag laws. So, read up on Mr. Alyssa. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He is not Caucasian. For those of you out there who were implying that he was before they released the name, you know who you are.
I've seen that.
They interviewed a bunch of his high school classmates who said that one of the things I was like, dude, how do you not? There was two things on there. How do you not red flag it, right? First one is that apparently when he was a senior in high school, they did tryouts for the varsity team, and he lost. And upon leaving the locker room, he said, and I quote, "I'm gonna fucking kill everybody." Right?
That's not a normal thing to say.
So apparently he had a really hot temper, and he was an overall nice guy until he lost his mind. Sounds like most people that end up committing murder. But that being said, he also was freaking out his family when he was playing around with the gun that he had recently purchased. Right? His family was like, dude, you need to put that thing away. And then he goes up and shoots a grocery store and kills 10 people.
This seems like overall sketchy behavior in general.
Yeah, and apparently he used to tell people that if they told on him that since he's Muslim, that he's going to just say that they're making it up and they're being racist.
More sketchy type behavior.
Right. So this guy was not a normal person, right? This is the guy who these laws are supposed to vet.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be the filter. So if you have red flag laws and you see crazy people, use the damn red flag laws. But that being said, this is the problem with the effectiveness of these types of laws, right? So like we have a big problem with sexual assault in our country, right?
Oh, yeah.
What's one of the biggest problems with sexual assault?
Like with the issues.
Nobody reports it.
Yeah, non-reporting.
Nobody reports it. So that's where I'm coming from here, is like this didn't have to happen. Not because AR-15s existed, but because people didn't use the laws that were put into place to prevent him from receiving one. This should have been easy, right? But it's not, and that's the problem. So yeah, he shot 10 people, one to include an officer, and then some people obviously said that, well, the cops would have killed him, and this gets to the other side of the coin on this. Cops would have killed him had he not been white, right? Some people were suggesting this.
Yeah, I seen people saying like, "Oh, if he had been brown, he would have died."
Now, I've heard this argument before, and I know you have too. When a black person gets shot, how come they kill him? How come they just don't shoot him in the legs or something? Right?
Well, yeah, I've heard this.
The cops shot this man in the legs. Probably not on purpose, but that's where he got hit. He got shot in the fucking leg.
I mean,
so they did everything he wanted them to do.
Well, here's my thing on the shoot him in the leg thing that I think a lot of people don't realize because they're probably not hip to shooting people. It's dangerous to shoot somebody in the fucking legs. Like, you have a femoral artery and shit in there. Like,
yeah,
more times than not, you get hit in the thigh, you're gonna bleed out like rapidly. So shooting people in the legs isn't feasible for like even a medical standpoint.
Well, I mean, what is it? Machine gunners are taught to aim at the hips, not center mass, because of people going up and down.
I hope you see me, I'm down.
Right. And not only that, but it's incredibly effective because a high femoral artery, I don't know what you would call it, being shot in it, is pretty much you're dead.
Yeah,
so
it's a death note.
Like you can get shot in the guts and be all right. Getting shot anywhere is not good, but
not
like
pleasant.
I said, this overall case, like I said, this shouldn't have happened. Because the laws were in place. Magazine capacity restrictions, background checks, red flag laws all existed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Still happened.
But
right?
did someone tell the criminals that they're not allowed to do that?
Well, I'm sure. But he didn't have anything criminal is the thing. He just was fucking crazy.
Yeah, he slipped through the cracks.
Yep. And this is what needs to be prevented is crazy getting a hold of weapons, because I was talking with somebody and they said the Democrats are not trying to disarm your citizens. Well, there's varying levels of disarm, right? The point of the Second Amendment and the reason why it exists is not so that you can go hunting. Okay?
No.
Right? You can say that it's often misrepresented, but the point of the Second Amendment, like the philosophical idea of the Second Amendment, is that if things go south, the everyday citizen can go to war with its own government. Yeah. That's the whole reason. That's the whole reason it exists.
You're supposed to be able to arm yourself against a tyrannical government.
Right. Just like freedom of speech is so that you can't silence the general public. They have the ability to communicate amongst each other to let people know that shit is going wrong. Same with protests and all this other stuff, right? There's a philosophical point to the Constitution, right? And this is what we've lost sight on. I was like, what is the actual verbiage? Well, it says make a well-maintained militia, right? Well, allow us to make a well-maintained militia.
See, this is where people like to say, well, your National Guard is a militia, but...
A federal?
It's
state.
It's still a government entity, you know what I mean?
It's a state, right?
Yeah.
The National Guard is federal, right? The Reserve is state.
I think you have that backwards.
Is it? Yeah, one of the two.
Guard is state, and then Reserve is federal.
Yeah, that's right. But like I said, that's not the community, right? That's still government.
Those are
oriented.
Still DOD employees / property.
Now, if you want to make it to where it's only a militia, right? Then the neighborhood watch should be able to have a little arsenal of AR-15s. How about that?
Strap the fuck up.
Can we make that happen? No. Right? Because eventually some neighborhood watch dude is going to go off his rocker and shoot a bunch of people. Right?
George Zimmerman.
Yeah. There we go.
Want to be neighborhood watch.
He had Skittles. And I shot him.
He had his hood up on a cold evening. Yeah, no shit, Playboy.
Yeah. the problem is that piece of shits exist. Here's the funny thing: is they say assault rifles, right? Which isn't a thing in the civilian world. You don't get assault rifles for one.
Oh.
For two, they say they only should go to the military. Well, newsflash, military people go on shooting sprees too. We've had this happen.
Shout out to Fort Hood, like, with all due respect, but there's one.
Just limiting it to the military doesn't necessarily solve your problem.
They're just
right?
people too, you know what I mean?
It happens even then. Well-trained people, it still occurs. The thing is that violence exists, and the most useful tools to bring about violence will be used, right?
Always.
If you allowed the everyday citizen to get their hands on fucking uranium, a crazy bastard would make an atomic bomb. If they could, they would try.
Oh yeah, some like meth dealer be cooking that shit up in his garage somewhere. I've always wanted to fuck. You know, we get a nuke, we can definitely, you know, run the cartel out of here, New Mexico.
You know, 100%. If the cartel could get their hands on nuclear weapons, they would do it. They'd be like, at least it's a bargaining tool.
I'd be surprised if they're not trying actively at this point. You know what I mean?
It's crazy to me. Like, I hate that every time somebody goes on a mass shooting spree, I hate that it occurs, first of all. I hate the fact that people are just, like, going nuts and shooting people. But somebody, somewhere, figured out that you could do this. And the funny thing is the AR-15 has been around since, like, the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And before that, we still had automatic weapons. And semi-automatic weapons for sure. Mm-hmm. Like, you used to be able to go get a Tommy gun at one time, okay?
Let's make a good point here that an AR-15 that a civilian goes and buys at the store is a semi-automatic rifle. You're not going and buying a fully automatic or a 3-round burst rifle at the store, and that's what they act like you're getting. But you're not. You're getting one pull, one shot.
And 5.56 is just as effective on any platform you put it on, so long as it can shoot straight. Facts. Right? The bullet is the bullet, right? What surrounds the bullet and makes it go boom, you can change all day. You can gain muzzle velocity by barrel length, and other things improve accuracy, right? The rest of what's around it is what improves accuracy, to include the barrel.
And let's get dark for a second here. In a crowded area, I could do a lot more damage with a pistol than I could with an AR-15 based rifle.
I was thinking about this. I was like, there's people that think that AR-15s are the main way and the easiest way to bring about violence. I was like, these people have never played Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually.
I was like, because you go play Grand Theft Auto, you'll find all kinds of ways to do it. And that's the crazy part is I was like, at one time on Grand Theft Auto 4, I had over 5,000 people I had ran over with a car.
I was about to say, you spilling rats as you would call on the sidewalk with that car. That seemed a lot more effective than you with the rifle.
I would not drive on the street. I got so good at driving on that game, I would only drive on sidewalks, okay?
Rats.
I would have been... when I had Grand Theft Auto 3 as a child, if the FBI was able to track it, I may have been on a watch list for all the different ways I figured out how to kill a bunch of people.
It would have been okay. It would have been understandable.
That's the thing is, like, guns are a tool for violence, 100%. They are used to kill people. They are not. It's not a shield, right? Mm. It's not a bulletproof vest. It's not any of that stuff. It's meant to inflict harm, okay?
But it's still, at the end of the day, just a tool. And it depends on the person to use that tool in such a way.
Right. And not only that, but it's, like I said, it's just the most cost-effective and available tool. And I guess if the point of that they're trying to make is let's make it less available, then, I mean, I was thinking about this. I was like, if I pick the most trustworthy person in my life, could I say that I don't want them to have an AR-15? If they want one, I think they should be allowed to get one. I trust, like, the people I trust all the way, right? I know there's some people I don't trust at all, and I don't want them to ever have an AR-15, right?
But I wouldn't want them to have a pistol either.
Exactly. Like, I don't want them to have a gun.
I kind of don't want him to have like a machete at that.
If your dog Bodie wanted to buy
Oh,
a
no,
gun
no,
and
no,
was
no,
able
no.
of using one, I would not let him buy a gun, right? The dog is a real asshole.
I kind of like, I feel a certain way that Bodie even has teeth because he wants to use those.
Exactly.
No offense to Bodie. You all seen
Um,
him just a few minutes ago.
I think we cleared that one out, but I just had to get that off my chest that there's so many variables behind this, and it's not an easy it's not as easy as saying that you should just ban them. It's not that easy,
No, not at
right?
all.
That's oversimplifying the entirety of the problem.
A very complex problem. Like, this is not a simple problem that has simple solutions that you can put forth in a week's time. You know what I mean?
No one just banned COVID. You're not allowed to have COVID.
I mean, we should have done that. We could have saved how many lives?
You know,
COVID's
you're not allowed to
illegal.
have AIDS. If you get AIDS, you're done. No more AIDS. If you own AIDS, you're done.
If you get coronavirus, you're going to jail. We're going to nip this right there in the bud.
Like I said, it's obviously guns are voluntary, but like I said, to me, it's just like, man, this is not stopping murder is hard, okay? Especially when you realize how often it happens. Like when I came back from Afghanistan and I was like still tripping a little bit, I
Yeah.
would get semi worried in big places. I don't get any more, but
I mean,
I would think about it. I'm like, there's too many people here.
For being honest, I still get like nervous, but that's me.
Yeah. Well, one place you should be nervous is if you work at a massage parlor in Houston.
Damn, that's
Deshaun Watson is up to 16. 16. I've never even had one massage. And this motherfucker's screwing up 16 of them?
Wait, what? What's happening?
Deshaun Watson
He's-
and his 16 counts of sexual assault being put against him?
Oh, that was from massage parlors?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that part.
At least I thought. I think that's at least how it started.
So is he on that John Travolta, like you going Rub and Tug?
Yeah, he's well, John Travolta asking to tug theirs?
Oh, that's true. John Travolta did want to tuck old boy's nub.
Yeah, he was reverse.
He was like, you give me the rub, I give you the tug.
Yeah, it's Deshaun Watson, after the first two I was like, yeah, maybe they're trying to fuck him. You know what I mean? Like maybe he's trying to get out of Houston. Maybe, just maybe, they're doing this on purpose. But 16 later, it's starting to look awful true.
And what are they like alleging? That's what I will say, alleging.
I don't go that deep down the rabbit hole. Just because it's not something I'm like incredibly interested in. I'm not like, man, I
Yeah.
wonder what these people really have to say.
I don't really. Also, true or not, I don't really want to spend my time looking into something like that because it's like, yeah, I don't want that in my life.
Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, like I said, Deshaun Watson is up to 16 counts now, and that's pretty wild to me. 16 cases
That's
and
a
counting.
lot.
I wouldn't be surprised if a few more come out.
That's so many.
Yeah, like he is not going to play football. I can tell you this right now. Deshaun Watson is not going to play football anymore.
No.
You heard it here first.
Well, I mean,
Like
if it's
it could get tossed out. The NFL is not going to let it slide. There's no way.
oh, you can't. That's too many people to come forward. You got to give that its due process, and it's hard.
They didn't let Ray Rice back.
It's hard to look at 16 and say that give him any kind of benefit of the doubt, even though like we don't know what happened. But 16 people, you trying to tell me 16 people got on board to coordinate something? To me, it sounds like you might be a piece of shit, my friend, and you don't need to. Well, you need to be in jail, depending on what
Yeah,
it is exactly you did.
They're not gonna let it slide, for sure. There's no way. There's absolutely no way that he hasn't pissed off the NFL enough to at least suspend him indefinitely.
Oh yeah.
Like, they're just not doing it yet because it's criminal right now, and once they're done with whatever they're doing, then they'll do what they're doing with Deshaun.
Now you may not know, have they indicted him or anything like that? Has he been apprehended, posted bond?
I haven't done any of that. It's just
Okay.
allegations at this point.
Still alleged.
Yeah, and of course his lawyer and whatnot are trying to say that the case is being handled incorrectly, which is usually the defense
that's not
when
a good
you've
sign.
done it. Yeah. If you're guilty, they argue that it was handled improperly.
Yeah.
That tends to be the way it goes.
They didn't say this is nonsense and my client's innocent. They said they're not handling it right. Oh, you might be a piece of shit.